Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Martial Talks. I'm your host, Ian, and like many of these martial talks, where I just kind of get on and talk about a subject that interests me and hopefully it interests other people, I thought a little bit about the fact that everybody will create their own style of martial arts. And the reason why I thought about this, like a lot of things that I think about, there's many moving parts to this. There's many moving pieces. There's many ideas that kind of come from one place and another, and they're kind of moving and they flow into this one idea that I have. So I'm going to do my best to kind of hone it down and think about it and really kind of put this into words live and on the spot here. But I thought about this because the truth of the matter is that everybody does kind of create their own style of martial arts. There are lots of different martial arts out there, and there are a lot of different types of martial artists. You have martial artists everywhere from people who are just interested in the art to people who are interested in only the fighting aspect of it, to people who are only interested in the fighting aspect of it, to but respect other versions of martial arts, to people who don't. Like if your martial arts does, and I fall into that camp to some degree. Uh-oh, we're waiting, reconnect. Okay, so I was having a hard time connecting there. And there are other kinds of martial arts. So there are all kinds of different martial arts. And one kind of martial artist that you will find out there are people who are eclectic in their martial art. You know, they don't mind doing different styles of martial arts. They don't mind, like sometimes MMA is an eclectic style. MMA is a combination of, boxing, Muay Thai, and jiu-jitsu, and some other stuff too, depending upon the person's background. Sometimes karate makes it in there. And I grew up, well, my first black belt, as many of you know, was in a style called White Dragon Martial Arts System, which was basically, an eclectic style. It was an attempt to put together hard style and soft style and passive style. And so what it was an collection of Tong Soo and five animal kung fu. It was the main two styles, and then also there was Aikido thrown in, and some Tai Chi to get a kind of meditative, passive style. And people, all kinds of people have made up styles of their own. They've made up styles. But on the other side of that, you also have people who are like dedicated. They're like one style. That's it. They will never ever do any other style except for X. And I run into this all the time. I used to don't run into it as much anymore, but back when I was doing Wing Chun, um, that was that was it. I mean, that was the mindset in Wing Chun, the Wing Chun system that I came from. It was very much you are in Wing Chun, and Wing Chun is the only style that there is, and you will only do Wing Chun forever. That's all you'll do is you'll do Wing Chun. However, and there are other people that they're like, alls I do is Kyokushin, or alls I do is Shotokan, or alls I do is you name it. But what I noticed was that at the bottom level, everybody was kind of uniform. I mean, especially if it's the same school. If it's a different schools and you have other are different, traditions in the same school, in the same style, you'll find different ways of doing things. And that kind of feeds into it, actually. Um, but what I noticed is at the bottom of it, so like, for example, let's just take my experience in Wing Chun. At the bottom level of Wing Chun, everybody looked the same. Your chamber was the same. The way you tried to chamber your hands, the way your bong sao was supposed to be. Everybody walked around and everybody did things the exact same way, I mean, it was just like this precise. You've got to do it this way. If you're not doing it this way, you're doing it wrong. But at the top end, what I noticed was that everybody did it differently. Everybody did it differently, and they were all calling it Wing Chun. I noticed that I was chastised. Now, you're doing the vertical punch, okay? And I noticed one of my instructors kind of tilted his hand slightly to the side when he did the vertical punches. He didn't do them straight up and down like this. He did them to the side a little bit. And I tried to mimic him in that. And the reason I didn't try to mimic him, but I felt, and this is back when I was a white shirt, I felt more comfortable, maybe even a gray shirt. I felt more comfortable with my hands slightly to the side like this than rather straight up and down over this top kind of thing. I kind of felt my hand it just felt better to go like this. It just felt more in line with my body. But my instructor came over and he turned my hand straight over. One of the instructors, it wasn't my Sifu, it was just one of the instructors there who was at the school, came over and turned my hand over, boom, boom, and so that I was doing it straight. Meanwhile, he was going like this. Meanwhile, I felt more comfortable going like this. Now, I have students. I have students that I teach martial arts to. And now, what do? They're going to see me doing this. My hand is slightly at an angle, not straight up and down, not straight vertical, but slightly at an angle. What's my choice? Do I go over and do I say to them, okay, we're going to do punches this way now? And so they're all going like this. Do I go over and go, okay, here you go like this? And then now I create my own Wing Chun system because my punches go like this and all my students' punches go like that. See what I'm saying? It's difficult not to create your own style because it's difficult not to find what works for you. The truth is that every person is different. Every body is different. Nobody is the same going like this. Nobody is the same doing this. Nobody's going to have their bong sao the same. Nobody is going to have their pak sao exactly the same. Nobody's going to have an inward block quite the same. If you're doing karate type stuff, your inward and your outward blocks. Nobody's going to be doing this the same. And the reason why is everybody's got a different body style, a different body type. And those little seeds of difference that you try to control in the beginner student will look more and more different as it goes along, as it goes out. And I noticed this in Wing Chun especially, because if one thing you notice about Wing Chun is Sulim Tao pretty much looks the same across the board, pretty much looks the same. So you go to a Wang Shan Long school, you go to a Yip Ching school, you go to, a Yip Chung school, say do Sulim Tao. Now there might be a little bit of variation. I know that there's some variation on the Guat Sao, whether it was here or here, or whether they do both or whatever. I know that there's some variation on that. There are stories behind why they do that. But they kind of look the same. It almost all looks the same with very little differences. But you go across the board and you look at their Chum Q, and Chum Q looks really different. It starts to look more different. Some people, when they're stepping in to do their bong sao, some people go like this and this as they're stepping to do their bong sao in that second part, and some people go like this to do their bong sao. Their cross ton sao is not as pronounced. They go like this. And some people get real lazy with it, that lower hand real low, real super low, like this. And you see people who are beyond Chum Q students, maybe into the pole, maybe they know the whole system, they know the knives and everything, and they do their martial arts, and they're very much across the board. I also noticed that when I was working with my Sifu, when we would do chi sao, What I noticed about him doing Chi Sao is his Bong Sao had a lot of downward pressure to it. I mean, a lot of downward pressure. And if I did that, he would correct me. He would say, no, the pressure needs to be forward. You need to have this forward pressure in the wrist from the center line outward. Or if you're on the side, you need to be in line with your relative center line. But for some reason, his had some almost like a gum sow to it. Like everybody will kind of create their own Wing Chun, but you can't show them your shortcut. It's important to have a template so that you show them the template and you kind of, as an instructor, you have to judge, how much you let them out of the nest, so to speak, how much you let them experience um, their own way, and the more you correct, and then how much you correct, and then you start to take off more and more as they start to learn what works for their body better. And eventually they're doing Wing Chun, but they're doing Wing Chun different than you do Wing Chun. There are a lot of differences. Now, it's not so different that it's a different style, but it is different enough that it looks pretty different. And I've seen people, both considered masters in various styles, doing Wing Chun, doing their forms, and those forms look radically different. When they tell you how to do the form, they want you to do it a certain way. But when they do the form, they've earned the liberty. When they do the form, they've earned the liberty to do the form their own way. So once again, you can find people doing Chum Q who look like this. Boom, when they do that cross tan sao as they're stepping, they do this, and then they do some that do this, where it's very much like this. And then you get some who are pretty lazy and they do this, like this. Okay, we got a question coming in. It says, do you think this is a long username? Hi. Do I think this is a long username? Hi. Oh, that's your username. Yes. Very funny. Do you think this is a long username? Hi, how are you? Long username. If you have any questions, please just go ahead and type them into the comments. Nice to see you here with us here. But basically, it doesn't matter. Even if you are a total 100%, like alls I do is Shotokan karate, and I will never do anything but Shotokan. Or alls I do is Wing Chun Kung Fu, and I will never do anything but Wing Chun Kung Fu. Or alls I do is, that's all I'll ever do. You will actually create your own style. You get given a certain level of proficiency. And the simple fact is that your body moves differently. Your body moves differently. Um, you learn how to make, and really what it is you learn how to make shortcuts. Okay, you learn the shortcutted method of what works for you in any system, and then Wing Chun becomes more or less, or whatever style becomes more or less a template rather than hard and fast rules. Hard and fast rules are good for beginners. You have to have them. It's the difference between like learning grammar and learning how to carry on a conversation. Okay, it's the difference between that. So you learn grammar, and part of grammar is like you don't ever say the word ain't. Okay, don't say ain't. Ain't a word. But then when you have a conversation, you realize that it's okay to say ain't now and again. Yeah, it's okay to contract words. When I was going to school, they told me never use contractions in your papers. Never use them. Don't use See how I said don't use them. But in a conversation, I might use a contraction. And as a matter of fact, using contractions shows proficiency of my English language. As a matter of fact, if I didn't use contractions, it would sound awkward. I would still sound somewhat like a non-native. And martial arts has been likened to language. It's just like if I said, hi, how are you? And you said, I'm fine, how are you? And I said, I am doing fine. Thank you very much. See, I'm using English, but it sounds awkward. It sounds sounds, artificial. It sounds, I'm marked out as a foreigner. But if I say, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?" And you say, "Oh, it's going good. How you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing okay, man." See, I've used my own language now, but I no longer sound like a foreigner, and makes that's what makes me proficient at the English language, where you might be doing English correctly, but you sound like a foreigner. And martial arts is all about making it your own system, making it your own style. There's no way around it. If you're in a style long enough, you will make your own style. If you do a collection of styles long enough, you will make your own style. That's all there is to it. You will make your own style because you move differently than other people. Um, and well, I mean, and if you don't, that's what I was going to say. That's what my thought went. If you don't make your own style, you kind of stick out a little bit. It's kind of weird. It's actually really strange. So one of the things I notice is in beginners, in most systems, the chamber is real high. And as you go along, particularly in karate systems, like they'll do a high chamber. It's kind of a beginner move. It's just like, make sure your chamber's tight, it's high, and it's out here. But you notice as karate systems go along, the older the person is, the grayer their belt is, that hand starts to drift down more and more as they go down. And guess what? Nobody tells them they're doing it wrong. But the next generation, he says, no, put that chamber up high. Make sure that chamber's high. See, but he's doing his own style because this is where he feels comfortable in his own body. See, he made his own style, even though he claims to just do Kyokushin or he claims just to do Shotokan. He will make up his own style, and so will you. You will make up your own style as well. All right. Well, thank you for everybody who tuned in. And if there are, let me just say this. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this on your favorite social media. I would really appreciate it if you shared it on your favorite social media. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you very much. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes, please leave them in the comments below.